All right guys, so today we're going to be replacing my Massey Ferguson 35 thermostat gasket. This is leaking on my tractor. When I run it for a long period of time, water comes out from right under. Might be able to see better from the other side. Yeah, right here. The water starts dripping out. So hopefully it's just a gasket leak. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the gasket. I was also going to replace the temperature sensor for the engine, where this comes out right here. Then it runs back up to here. I'm going to replace it. I'm going to have to do that at a later time because I'm trying to figure out how to get the steering wheel off because it's stuck on there pretty good. So I'll probably make a video on how to do that later. So what we're going to do first is we're going to remove this hitch in the front of the tractor, and then we'll take off the top of the tractor. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so this takes looks like 15/16 to get these off. There's a bolt in the front, a bolt in the back. This should just come straight off. All right, so to remove the front of your grill, just to get to your radiator, if you need to clean off or anything, just these two bolts here, and it should come out. I don't think you need to remove it to take off the front of the tractor, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. All right, once that's done, just pull back. And if you haven't screwed all the way, it should come off. So now you have access to your radiator if you just need to like clean off or something from debris, grass, stuff like that. Looks like I've got a wire that goes to one of my lights. I'm gonna have to look at this at some point because my lights don't work, but everything else does, so I'm not too worried about lights right now. Now to get off this hood, so I'm going to remove a bolt here and another one on the other side. All right, so this looks to be like 11/16 socket. So we'll go ahead and start taking these out, get them started, and use the electric ratchet to finish it. All right, now I should just be able to pick up the hood and take this thing off, so hopefully it's that easy. So there's one thing I need to do. I need to disconnect this wire for the lights. I'm just gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut it, and at a later point I'll just fix it. So I just went ahead and cut it, and I should be able to just pull this off the rest of the way. There we go. Now we can get to the radiator. So there's two bolts down here I need to remove. I'm not sure why there's duct tape down there. That looks like this arm up here also kind of connects to keep it from going forward and backwards, so I'll have to disconnect that as well. And what we're trying to get is we're trying to get to right here, access to that. So up here it looks pretty easy. It's like a little pin you just got to pull out. Might need some needle. Nope, no needle nose needed. Just pull that out. That'll make the top loose. It's not going to come out yet until I loosen these, I'm not sure what you call it, clamps from the hose. So I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom real quick, the bolts on the bottom, and take the radiator off. Now more than likely, there's still a little bit of fluid in the bottom of the radiator, even though I drained it. It doesn't look like my radiator, oh, it does have one. So right here it's got a twist valve to loosen to let it drain out. It was kind of a pain in the butt to get to with the hood on. So what I did is I had the tractor outside. I disconnected that hose, had a bucket under, and just let it come out. I ran it for like 20 seconds and let all the fluid come out, and then pulled it in the garage. All right, so it looks like these two bolts are also 11/16. That's always nice when everything's the same size. So let's go ahead and unscrew these. Yeah, it's loose. So all I gotta do, I need to come up here and I'm gonna loosen that top screw right there and I'm gonna pull the radiator off. All right, so now I got this top loose, I should be able to remove the radiator. I do have a bucket and stuff down there, so I know there's more liquid in here. So hopefully. There we go. All right, so what I ended up doing is I loosened the top and the bottom. Whichever one gave away first, I let slip out. So that is the radiator. As you guys can hear, there's a little more water in it. All right, now we can get where we need to go. Next, I need to take these two bolts out. Looks like at some point somebody tried to replace the thermostat. At first, I thought the water pump was leaking, and I would have had to get back here. I've got the seal for it in case it was, but I believe this right here is pressed on to the water pump, and I don't have a press to take that off. So let's go ahead and get these two bolts off. All right, so there's no real good place to put you guys, but the bolt that's in here, I don't know if that's what's supposed to be in here. It is a 9/16. This isn't on here that tight, so maybe that's why it's leaking. I could be wrong. So there's two of them, on top, on the bottom. All right, so I got a pan down here to catch this in case I need to. I'm gonna see if I can pull this out while I'm holding you guys. So these bolts are out. I should just, yep, comes right out. Ooh, it's pretty dirty. You know what? Oh, okay. So there's a gasket. I didn't think there was a gasket on here at first. Yeah, it's pretty cruddy, that gasket. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace the gasket and this thermostat. It's an old school thermostat. Huh. I wonder if this is original to the tractor. The one I have looks a little different than that. I'm gonna clean up in there too. It looks a little cruddy. But it says it's replaceable using the thermostat I bought, so we'll go ahead and use the new one I have. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys what I'm doing. This is super cruddy. And I tried using a wire brush and starting to get it. Starting to clean up pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shove a towel down in there. And then I've got this little wire brush on the end of my drill. And I'm gonna try to go around the side and clean up a little bit more. I cleaned up this really good. Took a wire brush on the drill to it. I also cleaned up this side very well as well. I also took some penetration grease or spray and kind of cleaned up the bolts a little bit. Now this gasket is gonna go in this way, because as it opens, the water will flow out this way to the top of the radiator and cycle back through down to the bottom. There's kind of a little lip right here that this side fits into. I've also got this gasket I'm gonna stick on. I'm gonna put that, there's a fan in the way, it's kind of hard to do. So I'm gonna stick that on here. And then put this on like that, and then screw it in, and hopefully it doesn't leak. Now I've read on forums, some people said don't use a sealant on the gasket, some people said do. A lot of people said it just depends on the torque spec. People over tighten the bolts, smashing the gasket out away from where it's supposed to seal, causing it to leak. So I'm gonna do this dry, and hopefully I don't torque it down too much, because I couldn't find torque specs online for this Massey Ferguson 35 tractor for this spot. So let's go ahead and get this installed, and hopefully it doesn't leak. The part I'm unsure about is which side the gasket goes on to the thermostat. My guess is the thermostat goes in first, because it kind of fits in that little cut, and then the gasket, and everything else. So hopefully we can get this on here all right. Let's go ahead and get this bolt started. I'm kind of wiggling it up and down, hoping the thermostat slides back into that little cut, or that groove. Seems like it's there. And we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this down by hand, just get snugged up first. Now this is where I don't know how tight to make it. So I'm just going to that seems all right there. I guess if it starts leaking again a little bit, I can always go back with the wrench and tighten it up. All right, so that's how you replace your gasket. So let's go ahead and put the radiator back on, fill it up with water and run it for a little bit and see if it leaks. So my tractor came with the fan shield. It wasn't on the radiator when I got it. I'm gonna go ahead and try to put it back on the radiator. So when it goes on, it should just slip over the fan like that. I'd leave it off, but this fan is just too exposed. Somebody get their fingers cut off, or one of these hoses or something gets caught on that fan, it won't be good. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to put this back onto there. All right guys, so I was able to put the fan guard on the radiator. I ended up using some short metal screws with some Loctite to keep them from coming out. If you do this, be careful not to go that way. You will hit your radiator and cause a leak. These are drilling through to where they're right in front of the radiator or pointing away from the radiator. So let's go ahead and get this radiator on the tractor. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and stick this on the tractor. I don't really have a good area to put you guys on camera so you can kind of see what I'm doing, but down here, this bolt goes in where this one can slide through a slit. So we'll go ahead and start there. And then we're gonna feed that over the tube. So we can turn this. So we're gonna push that down. Oh, that slid in real good, easy. Before I do, I wanna push this up. It's starting to come off. I wanna push this up and tighten it real quick. Oh no. So dang it. I need to loosen it because this needs to be on the top. So let me fix that real quick. All right, make sure this is up here before tightening everything down. Make things a lot easier. All right, so slide this bottom one back over. I'm trying to get this top to go down. But this goes in there. I'll put this pin on here. Let's see what I'm doing. So that goes there. There's a little pin that goes in there. Mine wasn't bent or anything, so I just stuck it in there. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if you can see that or not. But man, it's right there on the edge. I'm gonna have to try to fix that later. I was finally able to get this hose up here to connect the way I wanted it to. The trick was to do the top first, then the bottom. I was able to tighten them down. I've got everything screwed back on. I tightened that up. And now I'm gonna fill it with, I'm gonna use Prestone and a freeze and coolant. It's just what I'm gonna stick in my tractor. I need to add some water to it. I'm gonna fill it up and let it run and see if it's leaking. All right, so I ran the tractor for about 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer, and nothing seems to be leaking. The tractor doesn't seem to be overheating, so that is all good. Anyway, that is how you replace your thermostat and gasket on a Massey Ferguson 35 tractor. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.